Ladies and gentlemen, you have clicked on this video because you are wondering if this game called Of Ash and Steel is truly an old school RPG, and I can confirm for you lovely SMEXY ladies and gentlemen, after playing the demo and looking up everything that's available on this game. By the way, this game is coming out next month, November 7th on PC. This game really is old school RPG in the best kind of way. So if you bring your mind to old school RPGs where you have almost like a seemingly infinite amount of options, you can upgrade everything, you can build everything, you start from nothing, you build your way up, or the monsters, or the people, everyone's kicking your butt, everyone wants to kill you, no one is holding your hand, you don't know where to go, you are forced to explore everything, you never get a marker on your map telling you where to go, you just have to go out there and you will die over and over and over again, but not in an unforgiving way, but in an old school gamer way. See, before games, they just had a way, you just knew that when you played a new game, you would lose. You just knew it. You just knew the majority of enemies would be a little bit too difficult, would be a little bit too hard, but with time you'll figure out the systems, you'll level up your character, and then you'd continue playing, and you definitely get that with this game. So everything you can imagine, your armor, your equipment, there's a lot of survival elements. You get hungry, you get thirsty. So you get hungry, you eat an apple. You get thirsty, drink some milk, drink some water, and so forth. So it's not too hard to manage. Combat is nice and simple. Combat is nice and simple where you have your light attack, you have your heavy attack, you have a roll attack, and you have a counter attack. And what is good about this is if you just go in there blindly and you just spam the attack button, regardless if it's the quick or the heavy, you will die, and I think that's a good thing. It forces you to take in your environment, it forces you to observe the enemy and dodge when you get the opportunity and counter when you get the opportunity. And no, this isn't Dark Souls level of not fairness. It's simply, if you go, you're not going to button smash your way through this. It's an old school RPG. You go in with no plan and button smash, you're going to die. As you should. It is not hard to dodge, to roll away from enemies and so forth. You're also not a sponge. The enemies don't need to hit you a whole bunch of times before you die, so it makes you respect the environment, and there is a good amount of variety just in the demo as well. I came across massive oversized rats, I came across like dog things, massive wolf things, massive flying bug things. I came across some sort of bug that killed me real quick, so then I learned to avoid them, these massive green things. People aren't that much nicer either. You're going to come across bandits, and there was one bit which you would think would have made me dislike the game, but instead it made me like it. At first I was getting a little bit too confident, I'll be honest. I figured out the dodge mechanics, I figured out the attack, I finally got my knife and my sword, and I was killing the rats, and I was feeling pretty boss. I'm like, you know what, I feel like I've already mastered this game. But then there was a point where there was a bit too many to handle, and I ran away from one group of enemies, and then I collided into another group of enemies which was completely different types, and then I ran from them, then I collided into another group of enemies which again was a different type. So to be honest, I enjoyed being put in my place, that I ran out into the wilderness because of my lack of patience, and I literally got chased out of there, and that made me feel good. I never want to play a game and feel like just because I've gotten really used to the dodge or the roll mechanic or counter, that now I'm a little bit OP and now I don't need to take the world seriously around me. You definitely take the world seriously around you. What is quite interesting is this is actually an Unreal Engine 4 game, and all the pros and cons of that comes with it. So the con, to get that out of the way, is there's definitely going to be moments, sometimes you're talking to characters, sometimes you're looking at hair rendering, there's going to be moments where you look, even your own character specifically as well, doesn't look that good close up, you know, with the rags you're initially given. You know, rags on a person, on a peasant, is barely going to look, you know, that good visually, graphically, and your face model doesn't look fantastic either. And so you look at it and you're like, okay, this isn't the best looking game. You get that sort of indie vibe. However, there's so many parts of the game which is actually incredibly high end, where the texture resolution is extremely high end. The one surprising aspect is the monsters, right? So don't look at the character's face and be like, alright, this is the graphical fidelity and everything I can expect. No, When you finally go out into the world and you're fighting the massive bugs, the massive rats and the wolves and so forth, I use the photo mode to, stop the action and rotate and perv on everything from every different angle. And you go really close up to like the rat model, to the wolves, to the other creatures and so forth. And they look really, really, really good. Very good. Like the hair, the fur, the effects. So yeah, you get a little bit of whiplash of like, okay, this looks slightly budget to, oh, this actually looks really good. That seems to be the result of sticking with Unreal Engine 4, not going with Unreal Engine 5. But, so that's why it doesn't look cutting edge. It looks like it's on the verge. There's just a lot of moments where you're like, oh, okay, this is a very good looking game. And then there's other moments where you're, oh, okay, not so much. Overall, very good looking game, but it's easy to forget that the standard of visual quality that jumped between Unreal Engine 4 and Unreal Engine 5 is actually really big. Unreal Engine 5 games look a lot better. It's just factual. The benefit of them sticking with Unreal Engine 4 though was that this was and this is a demo, so normally demos these days aren't that great. This was a rather smooth experience. I think I maxed out all the settings, which I can't remember the last time I did that whenever downloading a demo. I maxed out all the settings. I didn't even need to use DLSS or anything like that. And it ran well. So the payoff here is I think this game will launch a lot less buggy and can perform much better than games that you typically get associated with the Unreal Engine. So they stuck with their strengths, which is very good. This game is clearly extremely ambitious. It's quite large. There is a lot of story, there is a lot of build up. Just a FYI, the game, it takes a long time for the game to actually start. Like even before you start moving, there is a lot of story, and some people may like that, some people may dislike that. I would have been happy if I got 50% less of all the talking. Like even once you start the game, you don't attack straight away, you're doing a couple fetch quests, you're getting used to the other people in the game, you're talking to them, you're doing little missions, but really it's just fetch quests going back and forth a little bit. Frankly, if you don't play this game quickly, it might take you like an hour or two before, I kid you not, it might take you like a good hour, maybe a bit longer, before you're finally in a position where the game starts. So don't let that deter you. Once the actual game starts, once it actually starts, run out, you have your one little knife, and sure, you get your little pop-ups and so forth, but for the most part, you're not forced to do training. It isn't like a lot of modern games where you're put into a training simulator and then first you learn everything and the game won't progress until you do it. It's like, no, you run out to the wilderness. When you come across your first monster, the game will pause for a second and a little pop-up will come up and say, hey, you have a light attack, you have a heavy attack, you have a roll, and you have a counter. That's it. It pops up once, it disappears, and then it's up to you whether or not you survive. And it's from that point onwards that I immediately started to like the game, with all of its rough edges and so forth. It really does feel like a game from the past brought to current with a lot of modern graphics. Like there's a lot of passion and effort. Like they've taken their story very seriously. They've tried to develop their world very seriously. You don't do a couple things that remind you of RPGs. They have all of the mechanics that you can think of crammed in there, and maybe even a little bit more, to be honest. By the way, as far as demos goes, this is one of the best demos that I have played in quite a while. Yes, it takes, forever in my opinion, by the time the actual action starts and the real game in hands-on impression begins, but the amount that you can do and experience for a demo is quite a lot. Like you can play this game for hours and hours and hours on the demo. I'm not saying you'll progress particularly far as the story goes, but if you just want to run around every direction, kill everything that moves, pick up everything that can be picked up, and do little quests like that, that's all there for the demo. So it's always a good sign when a generous demo can be brought out slightly less than a month in advance. So 3 weeks in advance before the games even come out, they've released a generous demo. It's running off the Unreal Engine 4, so it looks pretty darn good, but not cutting edge. But in return, the stability, the performance and everything is much better. Let me know down below in the comments section, are you interested in Of Ash and Steel? do you care at all about old school RPGs? Anyways, with that being said, God bless you all, take care, and I'll see you for the next video.